Get ready to dream. Close your eyes, the story is about to begin. Odin, the All-Father, was seated on his forged gold throne in the majestic hall of Asgard when a deep unease began to nestle in his heart. The walls of the hall were adorned with tapestries telling the ancient stories of the gods, but in that moment, none of them seemed to offer comfort or clarity. He gazed out at the vastness of the realms before him through the tall, arched windows, and what he saw troubled him. The realms were in constant conflict. Peace had become a distant memory. The voices of his people, crying out for help, echoed in his mind. Odin took a deep breath, trying to push away the sense of helplessness that overwhelmed him. He knew that his wisdom, although vast, was not enough to restore harmony. He rose, his imposing presence filling the hall, and walked to the great council of the gods, where Thor and Loki awaited him. "Why do you look so grim, Father?" Thor asked, his worried tone reflecting their bond. The god of thunder, with his golden hair and strong muscles, fixed Odin with an intense gaze, waiting for an explanation. "The realms are crumbling, Thor. Wars are intensifying, and I feel that our interventions have been in vain," Odin replied, his voice grave and full of weight. "It is time to seek knowledge beyond what we already possess. We need wisdom that transcends the understanding of the gods." Loki, leaning against a pillar, raised an eyebrow, his mischievous smile contrasting with the seriousness of the situation. "And where do you intend to find this wisdom, All-Father? In a magical well? Or perhaps through a dream? That path could be treacherous, and you know that." "Do not underestimate the importance of our steps, Loki," Odin said, his voice rising slightly. "True wisdom does not come only from experiences, but also from sacrifices. I cannot continue to govern like this, without the ability to see the future that approaches. Mimir, the guardian of knowledge, is the only one who can help me." "You intend to go alone, then?" Thor interjected, his concern evident. "A god of Asgard seeking wisdom in unknown lands? That is reckless. Let me accompany you. Together, we are stronger." Odin shook his head, a sad smile forming on his lips. "If I do not return, Thor, you must take care of Asgard. I cannot risk the life of a son in the pursuit of something that may cost me my own immortality. My decisions can affect not only us but all the realms." "You're speaking of sacrifices again, Father," Loki interrupted, his voice now more serious. "It is these decisions that can lead to unexpected consequences. What are you willing to leave behind?" Odin looked at both of them, the gravity of his words weighing heavily on him. "If necessary, my immortality. That is the only way to obtain the vision I need." The words hung in the air, and silence enveloped the room. The atmosphere was charged with tension as Thor and Loki exchanged worried glances. Finally, Thor broke the silence. "If you leave, then may the gods protect you. But know that we will be here, waiting for your return." Odin nodded, the weight of his responsibility becoming clearer. He turned and began to prepare for the journey. Shimmering armor, sharp weapons, each piece of gear was put on carefully, as if each movement were a ritual. He knew the journey would be fraught with dangers, but the quest for wisdom was a call he could not ignore. Before departing, Odin turned one last time to Thor and Loki. "I promise I will return with what is necessary to save our people. Wisdom comes with a price, and I am prepared to pay it." With that, Odin left, his majestic figure receding, determined in his quest. He did not know what awaited him, but a fire of purpose burned in his heart, and the journey to seek Mimir had begun. Odin entered the enchanted forest with firm steps, though his mind was filled with doubts. The trees, tall and majestic, stood like guardians of the secret he sought. Vibrant green leaves filtered the sunlight, creating a magical environment where the murmurs of nature seemed to whisper ancient riddles. He knew that the elves, known for their wisdom and cunning, were essential for his journey toward Mimir. Soon, a slender figure emerged among the trunks. Eleanor, the elf, with silver hair shining in the sunlight and eyes reflecting the depth of ancestral knowledge, approached Odin. With an enigmatic smile, she spoke, "All-Father, your intentions are noble, but you must prove your worth. A riddle is the first step for you to reach what you desire." "I am ready for any challenge you present, Eleanor," Odin replied, determination in his voice, though a shadow of anxiety tinged his being. My people need me. The wisdom I seek may be the key to saving Asgard. Eleanor tilted her head, evaluating him with a discerning gaze. Then listen carefully, Odin. Here is my riddle. What is stronger than time, but more fragile than a sigh? It is the truth that never hides, but that many prefer to ignore. What do you answer? Odin closed his eyes, diving into his thoughts. The answer seemed to dance in his mind, but each word of the riddle led him into a labyrinth of reflections. He thought about time and its undeniable truths, about how knowledge can be both a weapon and a shield. After a few moments of silence, a light of understanding illuminated his face. The answer is consciousness. It is consciousness that shapes the truth and, at the same time, the fragility of life. Eleanor smiled, satisfied with the answer. Very well, All-Father. You have proven that you possess wisdom, but it is still not enough. The portal you seek is before you, but remember that the journey does not end here. With a wave of her delicate hands, she opened a portal made of light and energy, pulsing like a living breath. Proceed, but be prepared, dangers and challenges await you. Odin stepped through the portal, feeling a wave of pulsating energy envelop him. Upon emerging on the other side, he found himself in an unknown realm where the sky had a violet hue and the clouds seemed to float like beating hearts. However, the beauty of the place was overshadowed by a sense of unease. He realized that the power that had guided him here would also watch him closely, testing not only his strength but his cunning. As he walked, Odin noticed fantastic creatures surrounding him. A group of small winged beings, resembling fairies, floated in circles, laughing and playing. But among them was a solemn presence, an imposing creature with iridescent feathers, who seemed to be the guardian of this realm. She approached, her deep eyes analyzing Odin. You are a god in search of wisdom, but here, wisdom does not come without challenges. Are you willing to face what lies ahead? Yes, Odin replied firmly, I am willing to risk everything for what may save Asgard. What do you require of me? The creature, with a slight nod, began to reveal a new riddle. In the vastness of the universe, I am invisible, yet I am in every thought you have. I am the answer and the question, the end and the beginning. What am I? Odin furrowed his brow, reflecting on the words. The nature of the universe, the interconnectedness of all things, and the power of doubt and discovery began to dance in his mind. He took a deep breath and replied, You are wisdom. The pursuit of it is what drives us. The creature smiled, its feathers shimmering under the light of the new realm. Correct, Odin. Your journey is only just beginning, and the true challenge lies ahead. Remember, wisdom is a path, not a destination. With that, the creature gestured, and a new portal appeared, illuminating the way for Odin's next step in his quest for Mimir. With his heart pounding with expectation and determination, Odin moved forward, ready to face the challenges that awaited him. He knew that each step brought him closer to the knowledge that could change the fate of all realms. Odin crossed the enchanted dense forest, where sunlight filtered through the green leaves, creating a mosaic of dancing shadows on the ground. The air was filled with a sweet and mystical fragrance, and the songs of birds mingled with the whispering wind. He knew he was in elven territory, a place where wisdom and magic intertwined intricately. Deep in his heart, Odin felt that true wisdom would not come merely from a well, but also from the interactions he would have along his journey. As he advanced, Odin was surprised by a group of Valkyries who emerged from the trees, their shining armor reflecting the soft light of the day. They were beautiful and fierce, with gazes that seemed to penetrate his soul. One of them, with golden hair and eyes like the sky, approached and proclaimed, You, Odin, All-Father, have come to us in search of knowledge. But to obtain what you desire, you must prove your worth. I am prepared for the tests that await me, Odin replied, his voice firm and resolute. Wisdom is a path filled with challenges, and I will not back down. The Valkyries, satisfied with the god's determination, led him to an open field, where a thunderous roar echoed through the air. Here, you will face the challenges that will determine whether you are worthy of the knowledge you seek, said the lead Valkyrie, raising her sword in a gesture of challenge. Odin took a deep breath and watched the Valkyries disperse, forming a circle around him. One of them charged towards him, her shining sword in hand. With an agile movement, Odin dodged the attack and countered, using his spear. The battle was both physical and mental, each movement carrying the weight of decisions and reflections. After several exchanges of blows, Odin realized that the fight was not just a demonstration of strength, but a test of his mind and heart. He remembered Mimir's words about the power of sacrifice and how true wisdom reveals itself in understanding others. You are guardians, Valkyries. What is it that you truly desire? Odin questioned as he blocked another attack. One of the Valkyries, with an intrigued expression, paused for a moment. We only wish to serve, All-Father. But we also seek the truth that lies within your heart. Why do you seek knowledge? What are you willing to sacrifice? Odin hesitated, his words heavy. I am willing to sacrifice my own immortality if it means saving my people and ensuring a better future. The wisdom I seek is not just for myself, but for all realms. The Valkyries exchanged meaningful glances, and the leader, with a subtle smile, spoke, You show courage, Odin. But true courage lies not just in fighting, but in understanding. The knowledge you seek goes beyond the physical. It is tied to how you connect with those around you. With a gesture, the Valkyries stepped back, and the leader approached with an approving expression. You have passed our test. Now, as a reward, we will grant you a vision of the future. But remember, knowing the future is both a blessing and a curse. Be prepared for what you will see. Odin nodded, feeling a mix of anxiety and anticipation. The Valkyries formed a circle around him, and a golden glow began to emanate from their raised swords. Close your eyes, Odin. Focus on the currents of time. He obeyed, and soon a wave of images began to flood his mind. He saw Asgard in flames, the gods in conflict, and Loki's betrayal unfolding before him. Each scene was more painful than the last, and Odin's breath became heavy. He saw humans fighting and rising against adversities, but also the ruin that was approaching. Ragnarok is near, Odin murmured, perplexed. What can I do to change this? As he opened his eyes, the Valkyries stood still, watching him with an intense gaze. Now that you have a glimpse of what is to come, Odin, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you intervene or allow events to unfold as they are destined? Odin felt the weight of the questions in his heart. He was about to become more than a god. He was about to become a leader who would face the consequences of his choices. I need to understand more, he replied, determined. I cannot act without knowing what is truly at stake. The Valkyries nodded, and the leader stepped forward, her expression grave. Then go, Odin. The wisdom you seek is not found only in victory, but in the understanding and unity of all realms. Your true test is yet to come. Odin finally arrived at Mimir's Well, a resonant place of wisdom, hidden in the depths of a dark cave, illuminated only by the light reflected in the deep waters. The environment was charged with an atmosphere of mystery and power, where echoes of ancient secrets seemed to whisper among the rocks. The giant Mimir, with his imposing presence and eyes that shone like stars, awaited him with an enigmatic smile. Ah, Odin, All-Father, Mimir said, his deep voice reverberating like thunder. You have finally arrived. Many have tried, but few have succeeded in reaching me. What do you truly seek? Odin took a deep breath, feeling the weight of what he was about to ask. I come in search of knowledge, Mimir. I need to understand what is to come, the consequences of my actions, and how I can save my people of Asgard. Mimir tilted his head, assessing Odin with an expression that mixed curiosity and respect. The knowledge you seek has a price, All-Father. Before you drink from the well, you must prove your worth. Are you willing to face the challenges ahead? I am, Odin affirmed, determination burning in his chest. I will do whatever it takes. Then prepare yourself, Mimir replied, gesturing toward the well. This is not a physical test, but a test of wisdom and understanding. Each challenge you face will reveal something about yourself and about the nature of power. With a wave of his hand, Mimir conjured a series of 4 doors, each adorned with ancient symbols. Choose one, Odin. Each door will lead you to a different trial. Odin looked at the doors, pondering his options. Finally, he pointed to the middle door, embellished with a dragon entwined around a tree. This one. As he crossed the threshold of the door, Odin found himself in a vast field stretching as far as the eye could see. In the center stood a colossal tree, its roots intricately entwined in the ground. Mimir appeared beside him, now as an ordinary traveler, devoid of the majestic garments he wore before. To pass this trial, Mimir said, you must answer a question about power and its responsibilities. What is more important, the power you possess or the wisdom to use it? Odin furrowed his brow, reflecting. Power is a tool, Mimir. Without wisdom, it becomes destruction. A leader must know when to wield force and when to seek peace. Mimir smiled, satisfied. Good answer. But the trial is not over. You must now confront the shadow of your own ego. Suddenly, Odin's shadow separated from his body, taking on a grotesque form that reflected his insecurities and fears. Do you really think you can rule? Look at your failures, Odin. You are just one god among many, and your decisions can lead to ruin. Odin stared at his shadow, feeling anger and doubt swell within him. I am the All-Father. My decisions are guided by the need to protect my people. And what if you are wrong? What if your quest for knowledge ends in destruction? The shadow retorted, its voice echoing with the doubt Odin often felt. I am not perfect, Odin replied, his voice firm. But it is my duty to seek what is right, even if it means learning from my mistakes. I choose responsibility over fear. With these words, the shadow began to fade, dissolving into a mist that vanished into the air. Mimir, who had been watching with an approving gaze, said, You have proven that true strength comes from understanding oneself. Now, for the final challenge, you must confront the question of sacrifice. Odin looked back at the giant, the gravity of the situation hitting him. What must I sacrifice? Drink from the well, Mimir replied, but know that the knowledge you seek does not come without a price. You must decide what you are willing to lose. Odin felt the weight of the choice in his heart. He was aware that what was at stake was more than just his immortality, it was the essence of who he was as a god and leader. He approached the edge of the well, the water shimmering, full of promises and dangers. I am ready, he affirmed, his voice resonating with determination. I am willing to sacrifice my immortality if it means I can save my people. Mimir nodded slowly, the gravity of his words echoing in the silence around them. Then drink, Odin, and prepare for the revelations that will come. Odin leaned over the well, the water reflecting his image and, at the same time, his hopes and fears. With one last thought about what truly mattered, he drank, ready to face the destiny that awaited him. The heavy silence enveloped Mimir's well, a place where time seemed to dissolve, and the air was imbued with ancient wisdom. Odin, with his gleaming armor reflecting the dim light emanating from the deep waters, sat at the edge of the well, his eyes fixed on the calm surface. The giant Mimir, with his long beard and eyes that seemed to contain the universe, watched him with an enigmatic smile. You have made it this far, All-Father, Mimir began, his voice echoing like distant thunder. But the true journey begins now. To drink from the waters of knowledge, you must first understand what you are willing to sacrifice. Odin took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision hanging over him. What was he truly willing to lose? The idea of sacrificing his immortality was almost unbearable, but the urgency of the promised wisdom was overwhelming. He remembered the visions he had seen, the conflicts in Asgard, and the approach of Ragnarok. Every second that passed without the necessary understanding was a second lost for his people. I understand that wisdom does not come without cost, Mimir, Odin replied, his voice firm but tinged with vulnerability. I am prepared to pay the price. What must I do? The giant tilted his head, assessing the god of war in wisdom. You must look within yourself, Odin. What do you fear losing the most? Your strength? Your power? Or the connection with those you love? The choice is yours. Odin closed his eyes, allowing memories to flood his mind. He saw his family, his wife Frigg, his sons, Thor and Balder, and even Loki, whose choices often left him in doubt. The weight of each of those relationships consumed him. When he opened his eyes, renewed determination filled him. If necessary, I will sacrifice my immortality, Odin declared, his voice echoing with a strength that surprised him. but I cannot give up the love I feel for my family. That is a price I am not willing to pay. Mimir nodded, seemingly satisfied with Odin's choice. Then prepare yourself, Odin. The ritual will require you to face pain and loss, but it will also reveal truths you never imagined. The giant began to chant an ancient incantation, and the waters of the well began to glow intensely. Odin felt himself being drawn toward the surface, as if an invisible force was pulling him. He focused, allowing the energy of the well to flow through his body, preparing for what was to come. Remember, Odin, Mimir warned, knowing is a burden. You will see what is to come, but that does not mean you will be able to change it. The waters began to swirl, and Odin felt a searing pain coursing through his body. Memories of past battles, moments of joy and sorrow emerged. He saw the fall of Asgard, Loki's betrayal, the pain of mortals, and the struggles of the gods. Each image was a blow to his heart, and he almost hesitated. I can't bear this, he murmured, but Mimir's voice echoed in his mind, urging him to continue. You must, Odin. Wisdom comes from pain and overcoming. You are almost there. With one last push, Odin lifted his head, his determination taking hold. He drank from the deep waters, a bitter taste that burned his throat. As the liquid crossed his lips, a wave of visions enveloped him. He saw Ragnarok, not as a mere battle, but as an inevitable destiny where his sons would fight, where betrayal and loyalty would intertwine in a tragic fate. My choices. What do I do now? He shouted, feeling overwhelmed by the responsibilities being revealed to him. The visions continued, and among them, Odin saw the image of Loki, traitor and friend, and the impending struggle between them. Despair began to grow within him. He was aware that every action would have consequences, and that, even with all the knowledge gained, the pain of loss still awaited him. I have to choose, Mimir. Should I intervene or let destiny take its course? Mimir looked deeply into Odin's eyes, and for a moment, time seemed to stop. True wisdom is not in knowing what to do, but in understanding what you are willing to sacrifice to achieve what truly matters. Odin felt divided, knowing that the wisdom he had acquired was not a blessing, but a responsibility. He had not only inherited visions of the future, he had also inherited the burdens that came with it. With his newfound wisdom pulsing through his veins, Odin walked through the vast and shadowy forests of Asgard, where the light of day seemed hesitant to penetrate. The trees, immense and ancient, seemed to whisper secrets of the past, while the cool wind brought echoes of ancient battles and unfulfilled promises. The All-Father felt the tension rising within him, a restlessness pushing him towards an inevitable confrontation. As he approached a clearing, Odin spotted Loki, his brother by blood and betrayal, sitting on a moss-covered stone. The god of mischief appeared unconcerned, a sardonic smile on his face, as he played with a writhing serpent in his hands. When he noticed Odin's presence, Loki lifted his eyes, his smile widening. Ah, Odin, the All-Father returns. I see your quest for wisdom has not brought the peace you expected. Loki's voice was smooth, but it carried a challenging tone. Odin furrowed his brow, his gaze fixed on his brother. What have you planned, Loki? I am not here for games. Darkness is approaching, and your schemes have a price. Loki released the serpent and stood up, facing Odin with a mischievous glint in his eyes. Ah, my dear brother, always so serious. Don't you see that true wisdom is knowing when to play and when to fight? You could learn a bit about freedom and carefreeness. Freedom is not synonymous with betrayal. Odin exclaimed, his voice resonating with the authority that only a god could possess. What are you plotting? Loki stepped forward, his eyes now dark. It is not me who plots, Odin. I am merely a reflection of what you do not want to see. You speak of wisdom but refuse to understand that your quest for control and order is creating more chaos. Odin felt fury rise within him. You do not understand. What is at stake is not just our destiny, but that of all realms. The betrayal you conceive could lead to the destruction of Asgard. Ah, but you do not see, do you? Loki laughed, a sound that echoed through the forest. Destruction is merely a form of rebirth. You and I both know that the order you so fiercely defend is an illusion. Odin, controlling his anger, tried to appeal to reason. Loki, you need to reconsider your actions. What you are doing is dangerous and could cost innocent lives. Innocent? Loki interrupted with a disdainful look. Do you really believe that mortals are innocent? They kill each other because of their own fragility. What you consider salvation, I see as a prison. Odin felt his heart tighten. He had fought to protect mortals, but now, before Loki, his beliefs were being challenged. If you continue down this path, there will be consequences. I am not just a god, I am a leader. A leader? Loki scoffed, his voice growing more bitter. A leader who cannot see beyond his own nose. You are afraid of losing what you have gained. But what if I told you that true freedom lies in letting go? A heavy silence fell between them, and Odin realized that the conversation was becoming a dangerous dance between hope and despair. He took a deep breath, trying to find a way to connect with Loki. What do you really want, brother? Is it destruction or freedom? Loki looked at Odin, his expression softening for a brief moment. I want to be understood, Odin. Not as a god, but as someone who desires a place in this world. Odin hesitated. Loki's revelation struck him like a lightning bolt. He was not just a traitor, he was a complex being, full of pain and longings. We can find a way together. It doesn't have to be this way. But Loki's expression hardened again. You speak of unity, but your actions speak of division. It is not me who needs to change, but you. Until that happens, we are destined for this conflict. With that, Loki turned and disappeared into the dense forest, leaving Odin standing alone, reflecting on his brother's words. He realized that the wisdom he sought was not only about the future, but also about understanding the weaknesses and vulnerabilities that existed within each being. The connection between them, though marked by betrayals, was also an opportunity for redemption. Odin knew he would need courage to face the challenges that lay ahead, not only from outside, but also from within himself. Odin walked slowly through the streets of a human village. The sun was already setting on the horizon, painting the sky orange and purple, while shadows began to elongate. He observed the tired faces of the peasants working hard in the fields. The daily toil reflected the struggle for survival, but also the resilience he admired so much. Each smile and each tear told a story, and Odin felt increasingly drawn to those simple lives, yet filled with meaning. As he explored the village, Odin stopped in front of a modest tavern, where laughter and conversations mixed with the clinking of tankards. He entered and was greeted by a warm look from a gray-haired woman behind the counter. She was the tavern owner, and her demeanor reflected decades of stories and memories. "Welcome, traveler. What would you like to drink?" she asked, with a smile that lit up her face. "A glass of water is enough, my lady," Odin replied, his voice serene. "I am here to learn about your people and their stories." The woman furrowed her brow, intrigued. "Stories, you say? Here, we have many. But what are you looking for in particular?" Odin hesitated for a moment, realizing the depth of the question. "I want to understand the struggle and the strength that resides in the hearts of humans, so that I can bring this back to Asgard." She watched him closely, as if trying to decipher the man before her. Humans are made of flesh and bone, but also of dreams and hopes. We fight for what we love, even when all seems lost. What you seek, All-Father, is both a burden and a gift. Odin nodded, her words resonating in his mind. He felt that each human carried a piece of the wisdom he sought, something that could not be found in books or wells of knowledge. It was the living, the experience, the love and pain that shaped their souls. As they spoke, a young warrior entered the tavern. He stood tall, with a determined gaze. His name was Eric, known in the village for his bravery and his will to protect the weak. When Odin turned to him, the young man stopped, surprised. "Who is this man, mother?" Eric asked, looking at Odin with curiosity. "A traveler in search of stories, my son," the woman replied. "He wishes to understand our way of life." Eric approached, his eyes fixed on the god. "You are a god, aren't you? The All-Father? What could a god want to learn from mortals?" Odin smiled, admiring the young man's boldness. Wisdom is not exclusive to the gods, Eric. True wisdom is shared. And I come here in search of connections to understand what it is to be human. Eric furrowed his brow, intrigued. Connections? What do you mean by that? I see that a struggle is approaching, a battle that may affect us all. The gods and humans are not as distant as they think. If we wish to survive, we must unite, Odin explained, feeling the urgency of his words. You want us, mortals, to fight by your side? Eric asked, his voice firm. If this is what you desire, then you must teach us. Show us how we can help. Odin looked into Eric's eyes and saw the determination that burned within him. Yes, young warrior. Together, we can be stronger. And I choose you as my apprentice. You will be the bridge between the worlds, a symbol of our union. Eric's eyes sparkled at the proposal. I will accept, All-Father. But it will not be easy. We will need to prepare the village and all those around us. And so it shall be, Odin replied, feeling that a new purpose was beginning to form. The wisdom I seek is not just for me, but for all of us. Together, we will face the challenges ahead. As the two conversed, the atmosphere in the tavern changed. Other villagers began to gather, drawn by the presence of the god and the promise of new hope. Odin realized that the connection with humans was the key to the wisdom he so longed for. And at that moment, he felt closer to his true destiny than ever. Odin had gathered the gods in a majestic hall of Asgard, its walls adorned with tapestries depicting past victories and the greatness of the Norse pantheon. The atmosphere was charged with tension, the faces of the gods reflected concern and skepticism. Odin positioned himself at the head of the table, his gaze firm and deep, bearing the weight of the visions he had received. He knew that the moment to act had arrived, but the resistance from some of his divine brothers was palpable. My noble brothers and sisters, Odin began, his voice resonating with the authority that had always characterized him. Ragnarok approaches, and what I have seen in my visions is a storm that we cannot ignore. Loki's betrayal is not just a shadow hanging over us, it is a reality that we must face together. Thor, with his hammer Mjolnir in hand, interrupted. And why should we believe your words? You speak of betrayal, but your decisions have put us at risk. What guarantees do we have that your quest for wisdom will not result in more disasters? Odin took a deep breath, knowing that distrust was a barrier to be overcome. I do not come here to deceive or manipulate. What I sought was the knowledge that will allow us not only to survive, but to triumph. The sacrifice I made for this wisdom was immense, and now we have a choice to make: unite our forces or allow discord to destroy us. Loki, who had remained silent until then, laughed sarcastically. Unite forces, you say? Unity has always been your strategy, but the truth is that you fear change. Power is seductive, Odin, and your desire for control is leading us all to ruin. Odin felt anger burning inside him, but he maintained composure. He knew Loki was an unpredictable force, but he also understood that his words held a kernel of truth. It is not about control, Loki. It is about survival. If we do not unite now, we will lose everything we have built. Freya, observing the scene with caution, decided to intervene. Odin is right. The visions he has received cannot be ignored. The fate of the realms is at stake. We need a plan, and that means setting aside our differences. We must prepare for the worst and act as one. The atmosphere in the hall began to shift. Some gods nodded their heads, recognizing the need for action. But others, still skeptical, continued to look at Odin with distrust. And if, in your quest for wisdom, you have brought us not only predictions but also a trap? Baldur questioned, his tone gentle yet firm. How can we trust that you are not putting us all in danger? Odin met Baldur's gaze, feeling the weight of his words. I cannot guarantee that everyone will emerge unscathed, but I can promise that I will do what is necessary to protect Asgard and all its inhabitants. The knowledge I have acquired is not just for me, but for all of us. And together, we can change the course of our destiny. The tension was palpable, but Odin continued to speak, his tone growing more resolute. We need to unite our forces and face what is to come. Remember the battles we have already won, the alliances we have formed. What separates us now cannot be stronger than what unites us." From his words, a murmur began to spread among the gods. Thor, sensing Odin's determination, finally agreed. "If this is how we must proceed, then let it be so. But know that we are watching you, Odin." "I agree with Thor," Freya added, her voice clear and strong. "Let us be together then. But distrust must be set aside. We need a single heart and mind if we are to face Ragnarok." Odin felt a slight relief as he saw unity starting to take shape. "This is what I hope for from you. Together, we will gather forces, seek allies in the realms, and prepare our soldiers. We will not fight only for ourselves, but for all beings that inhabit the worlds." With a new determination in the air, Odin began to devise plans as the room filled with heated discussions. Although division still existed, the seed of unity was being planted. The voices of the gods joined together, and Odin knew that the approaching battle would require not only strength, but a deep connection among all of them. The battle of Ragnarok erupted like a hurricane, transforming the sky into a spectacle of flames and shadows. Odin, with his black cloak billowing in the wind and his gleaming horned helmet, dashed back and forth, choreographing the dance of war alongside Eric, the young warrior who had become his apprentice. The smell of blood and smoke filled the air, and the cries of the wounded and allies resonated like a collective lament. Amid the chaos, Odin observed the scene around him. The gods fought bravely, but many fell under the weight of the struggle. Thor wielded his hammer, Mjolnir, delivering devastating blows against the ice giants that threatened Asgard. Freya, with her Valkyries, soared over the battlefield, guiding the dead and fighting fiercely, while Loki, the treacherous figure, watched from a corner, a cryptic smile on his face. "Eric!" Odin shouted, his powerful voice cutting through the deafening noise. "Protect the wounded. Do not let them fall into the enemy's grasp." The young warrior, his gaze determined, nodded and rushed toward a group of fallen soldiers. Odin, in turn, advanced with a renewed purpose, his heart pounding with the urgency to protect his home and his people. The roars of mythical creatures and the clanging of swords intertwined in a symphony of destruction, but he remained focused. He spotted Loki on the other side of the battlefield, surrounded by shadows dancing around him. The god of mischief was amidst a group of enemies, but his presence was undeniably magnetic, as if chaos itself fed him. Odin felt a wave of anger and pain. How could a brother become such a deep traitor? With a battle cry, he charged toward Loki, his determination burning brighter than ever. "Loki!" Odin bellowed, his voice reverberating like thunder. "You cannot escape your betrayal forever. This is your end." Loki turned slowly, a sarcastic smile on his lips. "Ah, Odin, the All-Father. Always so serious, always so predictable. I thought you would have learned to play with the cards you were dealt. Playing with the lives of others is not a game, Loki." Odin replied, advancing with a fierce glint in his eyes. "Do you not see what is at stake? Asgard is in danger. Our children, our homes. And you think that matters to me?" Loki retorted, his tone disdainful. "The freedom I seek can only be achieved through the destruction of what you call order. You have always been the oppressor, Odin. Isn't it time to change?" Odin paused for a moment, absorbing Loki's words. He knew that the battle was not only physical but an ideological struggle. If you think destruction will bring freedom, you are blinder than ever. True strength lies in unity, not division. With that, Odin advanced, the battle intensifying between them. The smell of blood and burning lingered in the air, mixing with the deafening sound of blades clashing and cries of pain and bravery. In the center of the tumult, Odin faced Loki, his adopted son and now enemy. The betrayal and pain weighed heavily on Odin's heart, but he knew it was not just a physical fight, it was a fight for the soul of Asgard and everything they represented. With his eyes fixed on the gods fighting around him, Odin raised his spear, Gungnir, and addressed Loki, who moved with agility, delivering precise strikes against his allies. "Loki!" Odin shouted, his voice echoing over the battlefield. "Do you not see that destruction is not the answer? True freedom does not come from chaos, but from unity." Loki paused for a moment, his green eyes shining with a mix of anger and confusion. "Unity? You speak of unity while watching your soldiers fall like dry leaves in autumn? Where was this unity when I needed you, Father? The word father slipped from his lips like a blade, cutting deep into Odin's heart. Odin hesitated, the memory of past moments with Loki flooding his mind. He saw the mischievous boy, always seeking approval, and the young man he had become, full of potential but consumed by pain and the quest for recognition. I have failed you, Loki. I did not know how to hear your anguish. But it does not have to end in destruction. You can still choose another path. Strikes were exchanged, and each movement was laden with emotion and history. Odin felt the pain of each betrayal, the loss of a brother who once was loyal. Loki, agile and treacherous, dodged and attacked, but Odin, with the strength gained from his quest for wisdom, would not be defeated. Do you really believe you can win, Odin? Loki laughed, a hollow sound echoing across the field. The wisdom you seek will not save you here. I have already paid the price of wisdom, Loki. Odin shouted, delivering a blow that made the ground tremble. And I am here to show you that the power of understanding is greater than brute force. With a decisive movement, Odin managed to disarm Loki, sending the god of mischief's sword flying away, embedding itself in the ground. Odin's gaze was intense, filled with pain and determination. What was once a brother was now an adversary, and the battle was not just against Loki but against what he represented. If you do not surrender, Loki, nothing will remain but destruction. Odin exclaimed, his voice now calmer but laden with a deep sadness. He knew that the true fight was for something greater, for Loki's redemption, not just for his defeat. The battlefield roared around them, but at that moment, everything seemed to silence. Odin was about to discover if the wisdom he had acquired could truly change the heart of a lost god. The battle raged around Odin like a whirlwind of fury and despair. Loki's fury seemed to waver for a moment, but it soon returned to the surface, like a volcano about to erupt. Do you really believe your words can change what I am? I am the son of treachery, the god of lies. There is no place for me in your utopia. He lunged toward Odin, but this time, Odin, now more aware of his vulnerability, did not attack with brute force. Instead, he prepared for a different kind of confrontation. Then tell me, Loki, Odin said, his voice calmer, almost a whisper amid the clamor of battle. What do you truly desire? What could make you feel whole? What could make you feel loved? Loki hesitated, his blade stopping mere inches from Odin. As the words of his brother, the pain of his own loneliness began to resonate within him. I just wanted you to see me, for me to be more than just the god of mischief, but something more. Odin saw the vulnerability in Loki, the open wound that had never healed. He took a step forward, keeping his gaze steady and gentle. Loki, I see you. I have always seen you. You are more than your actions. You are my son, and I offer you a different path. Come with me, and together we can rebuild what has been destroyed. Loki's gaze seemed to shift, anger giving way to a fragility he could not hide. Would you forgive me? After everything I've done, his words came out almost as a whisper, a question that carried the weight of 1,000 wrong choices. Yes, I would forgive you, Odin replied sincerely. Forgiveness is true strength. It frees us from the chains we don't even know we carry. Together, we can face any storm. In that moment, as the battle around them unfolded in a frenzy of pain and sacrifice, Loki let his sword drop to the ground. Tears welled in his eyes, and he looked at Odin with a mixture of relief and pain. I don't know how to deal with this. For so long, I thought the only way to be heard was by being the villain. Odin now stepped closer, placing a comforting hand on Loki's shoulder. Then learn to be the hero, Loki. Come with me and help build a new future, not just for us, but for all the realms. The battle began to quiet around them as all eyes turned to the two gods. The tension that had once filled the air was now replaced by a new hope. Odin and Loki were together again, not as enemies, but as brothers. So, what do we do now? Loki asked, uncertainty still present in his tone. Together, we will do what is right. We will unite the realms and face what lies ahead, not as separate gods, but as a family, Odin replied, with determination. As they looked toward the horizon, where the battle had left deep scars, Odin and Loki felt the strength of the connection they shared. In that moment, it became clear that true wisdom was not just about what one knows, but about what one feels, about the relationships formed, and about the transformative power of forgiveness. As the shadows of destruction slowly faded, a new era began to emerge on the horizon. With Eric by their side, Odin and Loki were ready to face the future, united in the mission to rebuild not only Asgard but also the trust and love they had once lost. Good night and enchanted dreams.